Chapter 21. Half of Lewis County seemed to be waiting on the doorstep, and as soon as the door was opened, the throng started to ease forward up the stairs and onto the large, wide front porch. Jessica and David smiled and said hello as the crowd started to enter, and there was a logjam of people as they stopped to remove their wet and snowy shoes. The friendly hellos were quickly replaced by gasps as people walked into the parlor of the mansion house and got their first good look at the renovated structure. One of the first in the door was the young reporter from the Sentinel, Charlie Adams. He stepped inside and pulled out his camera and started flashing pictures of people as they milled around the house and accepted the refreshments that were offered. Jessica excused herself from the doorway and started making the rounds, greeting each guest. Librarian Roberta Hamlin could barely contain her excitement over the appearance of the house. "This is outstanding, young woman, simply outstanding. You and your young man should be so very proud of yourselves." Jessica thanked the woman with a gracious smile, but inside her heart sickened. "He's not my young man," she thought, "and he's leaving." She kept up a brave face, but Emma Hoyle knew there was something wrong the minute that she and Bill walked into the room. She hurried over to Jessica, lightly grabbing her by the arm. "Jessica, honey, can I help you get more drinks for your guests?" she asked, nudging her young friend towards the kitchen. "Sure, thanks," Jessica responded with relief, glad to have Emma here with her. No sooner had the two of them walked through the doorway to the kitchen, Emma burst out with, "Jess, what's wrong? Are you okay?" "He's leaving. Tonight, after the tour. He's leaving, and he's not coming back." "I am so sorry for you, Jess," she said, laying a hand on her friend's shoulder. "Did he tell you why he's leaving? Did you tell him how you feel about him?" Jessica turned, and in an instant Emma knew that things were not as they appeared to be. "Do you want him to stay, Jess?" "Yes. It's just," she sighed, "I love him, Em. It's complicated, though. There's so much about him that you don't know, that nobody knows. I don't even really know him, and yet I love him. But you don't know if you are ready to make a commitment with the man, because of something that you can't look past?" Emma asked. "Something like that," came Jessica's drop-shouldered reply. "Jessie, I worked in the newspaper business most of my adult life, and I have seen them come and go. I have seen the slick-tongued snake oil salesman, and I have seen good, honest, decent folk who couldn't mutter a word in public to save their souls. But I tell you, the one thing that I learned above all else, actions speak louder than words. How can you tell the content of a man's heart? He can tell you anything, and sometimes those words are sweeter than honey. Like as not, you will turn around when the chips are down and he's nowhere to be seen. On the other side of the coin, you have those folks who are the strong and silent types. Some people might even call them boring. But they are there, year in and year out, and you know when it all hits the fan, they will be there right by your side. You know that not because of what they say, but because of what they do." She said, "Words don't really mean anything, it's what a man does that makes all the difference." "Emma, Jessica's words and thoughts were cut off by the loud sound of swearing and the crash of breaking glass from the front parlor. "Kevin, you either leave now or else," David said, finger pointed at the drunken figure of Kevin DeWitt, who was staggering around the room in front of a shocked crowd. "Where is she?" he leered. "Where is that no-good tramp? Where is your little—" He stopped when he saw Jessica and Emma enter the room. David walked over and stood between Kevin and Jessica, while motioning the guests to leave the room. Quickly, all but Charlie Adams scurried down the walls and out the two entrances to the large room. The young newspaperman stood there, camera in hand. Bill made his way around to Jessica's side and put himself between the two women and the deranged drunkard. Kevin looked over at the reporter, trying to focus his hazy eyes on his young employee. "You there, what's your name, Chucky? You put that camera away and go somewhere else, or you are fired, you understand me, boy?" Charlie stepped forward, raised the camera to eye level and snapped a photo of the staggering man. Kevin was momentarily blinded and stunned by the flash, and he leaned back against the wall to steady his uneven balance. "You forgot to say cheese, Mr. DeWitt, and you can't fire me. If you remember, I quit yesterday. I am just finishing up my 2 weeks. If you want me to leave early, I will be more than happy to. Kevin groggily considered what the reporter was saying, and after several seconds of thinking he turned back towards Jessica. This is all your fault, he slurred. Everything was going good, and you had to go and get the hots for this son of a. Shut up, you drunken pig. Jessica shot back before he could finish. She tried to push past David, but his strong hands clamped on her arm, and a quick but stern look made it clear that he was not about to let her anywhere near the unwelcome intruder. What's the matter with you, Kevin? You've lost it. You used to have some pride, but look at you now. You are a drunk, embarrassing yourself in front of the entire town like this. I can't believe you. Kevin listened, returning her rebuke with a lazy, drunken smile. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a snub-nosed .38 revolver and pointed it right at Jessica. The gun bobbed up and down in his unsteady hand. Charlie Adams slowly placed his camera on the ground and shot a quick glance towards David. David returned the look and slowly started walking towards Kevin. There's no need to let this get out of hand, he said calmly. What's been done here so far is nothing. You put down the gun, you can go home and sleep it off, he said. He inched closer to Kevin, while at the same time making sure that he was in the line of fire between the gunman and Jessica. I should have killed you the first time, Kevin said with a sneer, suddenly seeming a little more sober. I should have just eased over a little bit more and squashed you like a bug. She didn't believe me when I told her I wasn't trying to kill you. It's true, I wasn't. I was trying to shake you up a little. I was just having a little fun. You step one step closer, and I will kill you though, he said. No, you won't, David said calmly. You don't want to kill me. You've been to prison to see clients, you know what it's like there. There's no way you want to spend most of the rest of your life in a maximum security prison. What you want to do, and we both know it, is to find a way out of this mess so that you can go on about your life just like always. The only way that is going to happen is to hand me that gun. Kevin moved his other hand over to steady the one with the gun in it, and considered for a minute. He cocked his head slightly as a thought occurred in his drunken mind. I can beat this, he said. I am a lawyer. I am a good lawyer. I am the best around. I am better than the prosecutor. I can beat this in court. He moved the gun towards David's chest, and in an instant that seemed like slow motion David leapt forward, and with his good arm knocked the gun skyward. There was a loud explosion as the gun fired, and David saw a blur flying in from across the room, as Charlie knocked Kevin flying with a tackle that would have made his high school football coach proud. As Kevin and Charlie fell, David grabbed the gun in Kevin's hand and pulled to rip it free. He heard the loud explosion before he felt the fire burning him. And then he heard the screams. We are going to have to stop meeting like this, Dr. Collins told David with a rueful smile as the physician wrapped the powder-burned hand with bandages. Definitely, David said. At least nobody else was hurt, that's a blessing. Jessica watched the doctor tend to David's wound, and her mind was still racing over the events of the last hour. Thank God, she thought, that the 2 bullets hit nobody. The first buried itself harmlessly into a ceiling joist, while the second one shattered a mirror before it was embedded in a wall. Divine Providence may have kept the bullets from hitting anyone, but it was quick thinking and some brave actions by David and Charlie that kept the disastrous evening from becoming much worse. Well, that should do it. The doctor finished with the bandage. He handed David 2 large pills and a glass of water, and watched him drink them down. Okay, young lady, if you will be kind enough to drive Mr. Miller home, I will go get my supper. Looking at his patient, he said, it's straight to bed for you. Thanks, Doc, David said, but I am driving to St. Louis tonight. No, you are not, the doctor said with a concerned look. You have suffered a shock, and you need to give your body a chance to recover. Besides, he said, those were some pretty strong pills you just took. You are going to be feeling pretty darn sleepy in about 20 minutes. You need to get to bed and get some rest. Unless I am mistaken, St. Louis will still be there in the morning. The short ride from the hospital to Jessica's house was silent. David had packed all of his clothing, and his bags were now sitting in the back of his car up at the mansion. I'll go get your stuff for you, Jessica said quietly. That's okay, I will make do. Can borrow a couple of things from Philip's room. I will be all right, he said in an equally subdued voice. I see what the doc meant about those pills. I am starting to get drowsy, he said, walking slowly towards the room he had been staying in. Jessica went to her room and slipped out of her dress, casually draping it over the chair. She changed into a pair of sweatpants, some woolen booties and a t-shirt, and went to check on David. David was nearly asleep when she entered the room, but he motioned for her to sit down next to him on the edge of the bed. Can you do me a favor? He asked. Sure, no problem. What do you need? Some water. Could you call my mother and tell her that I am all right? I am sure Brenda's already called her, but I would really appreciate it if you could let her know that nobody was shot or seriously injured. I don't want her to worry. Her cell number is stored in my cell phone. Okay, I will give her a call. Anything else you need? Jessica asked, realizing only after he failed to respond that he was already fast asleep. She walked over and checked his clothing for his cell phone, but it was nowhere to be seen. She remembered that she had seen him stick it in his coat pocket, and she realized that he had gone to the hospital without his coat. His phone was still at Riverview House. She spotted his wallet sitting there on the dresser, where she had put it while searching for his phone. Perhaps he kept a list of numbers in there. She reached down, picked it up and flipped it open. There, staring out at her was the smiling face of a woman, a picture that told her everything that she needed to know about the heart of David Miller. It was her face, sweat running down one cheek, hair matted, standing in the door frame that it was apparent she was sanding. The first thing he saw when he opened his wallet was her. 20 minutes, and many tears later, she put on some boots and went out into the cold icy night to find his phone and call his mother. She too had a promise to keep.